I recorded this video twice, and both times the audio did not work. So I'm giving up on my mic. Something is just like not working, but third time's the charm, hopefully. I wanted to make this video because on my last video that I made, I had just like said a little blurb about I was reapplying for my government student loans because I have to go back to school in 2 weeks, and yeah, I need money basically back to student loans. And I just was like, if anybody wants a video about student loans, let me know. And I'm kind of surprised how many people actually said that they did want a video about student loans. Like, I guess I am and I'm not, because I personally know that I have watched these kind of videos before and been like just benchmarking myself, like where I'm at, where other people are at, whatever. But also as a non-traditional student, I think that definitely one of the barriers to going back to school is taking on more debt, and that can really be a super scary thing. So this is my story. This is not advice. This is not like, don't aspire to do what I did. I have a lot of student loans and it is what it is at this point. Like, I don't know. So I just want to kind of preface this video with a little bit of background information. Maybe I should introduce myself first. So if you're new here, hi, my name's Chantel. I am a second year vet student here in Canada at the Western College of Veterinary Medicine. I am about to start year 2, and before I was a vet student, I was a registered nurse, and before I was a registered nurse, I did a bachelor's degree in animal science. So I'm going on year 9 of university, and I have taken out loans for all of that. And this is my video. This is my student loan situation, I guess. So background information about me, and I think it's important to say this because I really think that the people can come through like widely different situations from where they're at when they start university, and it really definitely does have an impact on where they end up later on. So for me personally, I did not come from any sort of like education savings. There was no money put away for me to go to university. I think I surprised the heck out of like all of my family when I said that I actually was going to go to university and I wanted to go to university, because like, I'm not kidding, I barely made it through high school. And I just like honestly got bucked off enough horses one year and I broke my arm 3 times, and I was sick of wearing a cast, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ride a desk for a while, like I'm over this. And so I applied to school, and that was like what jump-started my university degree. All of that to say, nobody planned for me to go to university. Nobody. And I'm also the only person to this point in my family to go to university. So I don't come from like a long line of scholars, and my parents weren't doctors and all of that. Like, my dad was a single dad, he's a farmer, and we grew up on a farm, and I don't know, you're just kind of like expected to like marry the neighbor down the road and do that. So I kind of knew that like if I was gonna go to school, it was gonna be on me, and that was really not even a conversation that had to be had in my family, because I just knew what it was. I just knew that that's what it was. So when I started my ag degree, I was 20, and in my town, there was a very small town, and there was one bank, and you just went to the bank and was like, hey, I'm gonna go to school, I need a loan. And you just take what they gave you, literally. And also when you're 20, I didn't feel like I knew any better. So I didn't really care about interest rates. I didn't really care about repayment plans. I didn't really care about, you know, like anything other than the fact that it was just like, all right, cool. You guys are gonna give me money. I'm gonna go to school. It's gonna be good. So that's what I did. And when I started school, like, I knew I wasn't a strong student, but I knew I really wanted to get into vet school. Like, the only reason I was going to school at that time was to become a veterinarian. And so I felt like I was going to be more likely to succeed in that if I had fewer distractions, which for me meant not having a job at the time and not having roommates, because roommates are distracting, and I paid for it. I think I paid $1,000 a month for rent plus utilities, and I lived by myself, and I bought all my own groceries, and there was no like splitting rent, splitting utilities, any of that. I just like paid for all of that. and I lived in that basement suite for all of my egg degree and most of my nursing degree. I want to say I lived there for 6 years. So you do the math. That's a lot of money in rent and expenses. That worked for me, and I definitely was happier doing that. But then fast forward, I graduate ag. I applied a couple times. I'm not in vet school. I'm looking at like, what am I gonna do with my life, basically, and kind of start to freak out because now I have all of the student loans from 4 years of ag and like not really a solid way that I'm gonna be able to pay that off. And the other thing about going into vet school or like chasing vet school, and I find it, maybe this isn't the case for everybody, but it was definitely the case for me, where I took all of the animal agriculture, like grunt work, minimum wage jobs to work with animals. I worked with pigs, I worked with chickens, I worked, you know, just with anything and everything I could, which typically during the summers paid very little. And you get 4 months of the year to make money when you're in school. And when you're making minimum wage, it really does not go very far. And I think, I don't want to say like, oh, those places know, because I don't know that they know, but they're always going to have people work those jobs and settle for those minimum wage jobs because you need that experience on your application to get into vet school. And there's no way around it. You need to have animal experience, and unfortunately, like, animal experience for me at that time did not pay very well at all. So that did not help me out through my egg degree whatsoever. So then fast forward to nursing, I turned 25, and I had like a quarter life crisis. And I don't know, like now that I'm almost gonna be 31 here, looking back, like that seems like it was such a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But literally when I say quarter life crisis, like I had a full-on meltdown. I was like kind of in that in-between between ag and nursing, and was like, what am I gonna do with my life and how am I gonna pay for this? And I just remember opening up my online banking and looking at my balance and just complete and utter like shock. And looking back, like I'm like, oh yeah, Chantel, like what did you expect was gonna happen? Like every month money comes into your account that you don't make. It's not your paycheck, somebody is giving it to you. Of course you're gonna have like a huge amount. And I don't know like where my head was at and why I thought that was like such a shock. But like keep in mind, like nobody ever taught me about finances. We never talked about money in my house. We never talked about saving. I didn't have a summer job. Like I didn't earn a paycheck during high school. I worked on the farm with my dad and I didn't get paid for it. Like I got to eat and live and do what I wanted to do sometimes. But like the concept of like debt and income and making money and like saving for retirement and like any of that, literally nobody had ever told me a thing about any of that. So I was just basically really going down a deep dark hole really quickly, and I didn't even know any better to do anything about it until I turned 25 and I was like, okay Chantel, we need to do something here because this is insane. And I just decided that I wasn't gonna go for vet school anymore. Like at the time I was like, okay, I switched gears, I'm going into nursing. I'm gonna be one of those students now who can do school and work. And the best paying job that I could get at the time was actually milking cows at a dairy barn on night shift. So I milked cows in a dairy barn from like 8 p.m. until 2:30 a.m. 4 or 5 nights a week while I went through nursing school. And looking back, I truly have no idea how I did that or made that work and kept up any kind of grades or like stayed alive through clinical. But I did it. I definitely don't think I could do that now, but I sure did it then. And I remember at the time I had one of those little Fitbits and it would track your sleep. And I would go through my phone and I would be like 3 hours of sleep, 3.5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, 3.5 hours of sleep. And then you could just like go like that through the week. And then you could just tell the day that I absolutely crashed and burned. And it would be like 16 hours of sleep or 18 hours of sleep. And I yeah, I made it work, and it was insane, and I definitely don't think I could do that anymore. But I was like so super motivated at the time to not take on any more debt than I had, and even like work enough that I could start like paying some of it down while I was in school, which was really ambitious, and I don't know that I would recommend that, especially in nursing school, because nursing school is hard. And like I said, I just like truly, I don't know, I was like a superhuman during those years. I have no idea how I made that happen, but I did, and it definitely did help me keep my student loans down. And then when I graduated nursing in 2020, and it was COVID, and nobody was hiring, and it was such a catch-22 because it was like this pandemic and we needed nurses, and you would think that they would just like snap you up like crazy, but actually it was like the opposite, where managers were freaking out and nobody had time to train new staff, and policies were changing every single day, and nobody would even like give you an interview. It was nuts. So it took me probably like 4 or 5 months after I passed and like wrote and passed the NCLEX to get my first nursing job. So throughout that time, I just stayed on milking at the dairy barn, which was fine. I was glad to have that job at least. And then when I started nursing, I worked so much. I think my first year out of nursing school, I made almost 100K, which was pretty good. I had made over $20,000 of overtime pay. So I don't know. I worked a lot. I worked a lot of nights. I worked all the weekends. I just was like, yes, now I'm here. I'm getting a paycheck. I am paying down these student loans. And that's what I did for probably like 6 months or so. I remember I would take like half of my paycheck and just like make all these early payments onto my student loans, even though I hadn't technically entered my like repayment period on these student loans. I just wanted them gone. And I remember when I graduated nursing school, I had about $120,000, $130,000 of student loans. So that was after 7 years of university, you know, working my summer jobs, working through nursing school. I can't even imagine what it would have been if I didn't work at the dairy barn through nursing school, but it still felt like a lot when I graduated, and I was like, I do not want this. I want this gone like as fast as possible. So that's what I tried to do. And then, you know, you get a little burnt out and you get a little tired and you don't really want to work that much anymore. And lifestyle creep, that happens. That is such a real thing. I treated myself in a big way, and I bought a new car, pretty new. It was still like $35,000 or something. And I moved to a newer apartment, started paying a lot more rent, started just buying all of these things that I, throughout the last 7 years, was not able to afford, was kind of stressed about buying. Like, you know, I had never went and had done like a Lululemon binge or, you know, stuff like that, where I would just like, now I could afford it. And nursing is kind of a funny thing because you literally think of how many shifts is this going to cost me? And that's what you do. You're like, oh, I really want to go on a trip to so-and-so. It's like, well, like $1,600, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I probably have to work like 4 shifts. And everything came down to number of shifts. And when I did it like that, I could just afford anything I wanted because I was willing to work for it. And so that's what I did. I super lifestyle creeped, and I just stopped putting as much money down on my student loans and just started to enjoy life a little bit, which I don't regret at all. Like, I think I was super burnt out and I needed that, but this video is about student loans and that kind of definitely played into it. At the time, I also met my now fiance, Jarrett, at the hospital, and when COVID lifted, we went on trips and new relationship stuff, and just, yeah, I don't know. Saving money kind of like fell to the wayside a little bit. And then unfortunately, fast forward to 2022, October of 2022, I wrecked my knee really bad. I ripped my meniscus, and I actually had to have surgery, and I was off work for like 8 months. And so I burned through all my sick time pay, and then I was just on like disability and EI, which don't pay your full wage. And I went from being able to like work as many shifts as I wanted, make as much money as I wanted, and like pay some towards my student loans at least, and like my car and everything, to then really like not having a lot of income for the better part of a year. And that was really tough for me financially. That was definitely one of my lowest points that I had my whole like adult life. But the bright side to come out of that injury was that is what like kickstarted me applying to vet school again. So it definitely like started me down this path of then the next year in 2023, I was starting vet school. So last year, here we are again, having to take out more student loans. So that's what I did. And I did work a lot in the summer to kind of like save up a pretty good cushion that I didn't have to use my line of credit as much throughout the year. And I've been nursing again this summer, not as much, still just trying to like save money and just like pay for things out of my own pocket and not paying off of this line of credit. But the other thing that I did differently was, now that I'm a little bit older and hopefully a little bit smarter, I actually shopped around for banks, and that was so helpful, you guys. Like, when I first knew that I got into vet school, I called Connexus Credit Union and was like, hey, I'm going back to school, like I'm going into vet school now, like is there any like incentives that you can offer, or like do you have any good programs for like professional students? And literally they had really nothing new, nothing they could offer. They just were like, no, we'll just do what we did before. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't really love what we did before, actually. And I decided to shop around, and I found a way better deal. I shouldn't say like a deal because I'm still taking out loans, but I found a much more fitting and beneficial like line of credit through Scotiabank. And at the time, remember, interest rates are really high and things are crazy, so it really paid to shop around and just like pay a little bit more attention for that. So I got this new line of credit, which I have, and then I'm also taking out government student loans, which I have taken out like throughout my whole, well, I've taken out government student loans every year except for I think my first 2 or 3 years of ag. And I didn't do it then because I didn't even know it was a thing. Nobody told me. And then I had a friend who was like, oh yeah, like this government student loan is so good. Like it comes, part of it is like a grant. If you qualify, you can get a grant that's like money you don't have to pay back. And I was like, what? My bank doesn't have that. And she's like, no, it's not through the bank, it's through the government. And I was like so naive. I didn't even know. I just like, of course the government will give you student loan money. Like, I don't know why I didn't think of that, but like the financial advising that I like had was nil, like literally nil. So yeah, I got onto the government student loan program, and that has been good. So currently up to date right now for going into, like I said, my 9th year of university, the amount I owe on my Scotiabank line of credit is $74,486.40. And before everybody freaks out and thinks that I spent all of that in 1 year, no, I didn't. I had to use my line of credit to pay off my Connexus loan, the amount that I still owed on my Connexus loan. They just like paid it out so that I could cancel that account and not be banking with Connexus anymore. So that's why that is so high. I promise I did not spend $70,000 in 1 year. I did not do that. And then from my government student loan, I currently owe $46,017.17. So that one is a bit lower because that was the loan that I was mostly tackling and putting extra money on when I was nursing and making money. So my grand total currently today going into 2024 without my 2024 amounts added is $120,503.57. So about $120,000 is what I owe right now today before I take out money for 2024, which I mean is a lot. It's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I like can't even sugarcoat that. It is a lot. For me, it's a lot. And I know that there's like a lot of different schools and a lot of different tuition. And like if you go to Ross University or vet school in Australia or a vet school even in the States, like I don't know all the details on that. I think it's more expensive. But just for here in Canada, this is what we're working with. So the other thing I did is I just kind of like roughly projected what I think I'm gonna owe by the time I'm done vet school. So that's 3 more years. and we pay about $15,000 in tuition every year. So that's 15,000 times 3 is 45,000. Plus, I just roughly guesstimated what I think I spend in a year for like rent, food, gas, plates on my car, like the non-negotiables, like your phone bill and whatever. And I put that at about $15,000 also. So times 3 more years is another $45,000. So that alone is $90,000. And I'm sure that I'm being really conservative with those numbers. It's probably gonna be higher. I have heard even just 4th year of vet school can be really expensive because you do a lot of traveling around for different rotations and clinicals, and you have to pay for the NAVLE and your study supplies and like all of that stuff. So probably by the time I'm done, I will have at least $210,000 of student loans, which hurts a little bit to say it out loud. And yeah, like I don't want to come on and make this video and be like, oh, it's great and it's fine and like I get to be a vet and I love that and I don't care about anything else. Like, no, I do care, and I feel like stress to say that out loud, and I know that's more than some, I know that's less than some, but it is what it is for me. So I also know, like, I have put myself here. I know that I have chosen to go back to school, but the other thing that I know that it just like lets me kind of like live with it is I know that I'm going to be fortunate enough to come out of this to be in a position where I can pay that off, while also being in the position then to be in a job that I actually love and want to do and want to work hard at, and there's always more money to make. I can't speak for everyone, and as much as I want to inspire people to go back to school and, you know, non-traditional grads, there's other things to think about. Like right now I'm saving for a wedding, trying to pay for a wedding. In the future, who knows, maybe there's going to be kids, maybe there's going to be a different house. Like there's always going to be things that are going to add to your debt load, and I'm trying to be as smart as I can about it. I'm trying to be aware of it, and that's kind of the best I can do right now. Would I have not went to vet school and stayed in a job that didn't make me happy just because I didn't want to take on more debt? Me personally, no, absolutely not. That might not be the same answer for everybody, and that's okay. So I hope that you guys got something out of this video. It wasn't really meant to be for advice. I would not say that it's like exceptionally inspiring. Maybe it's entertaining. I have no idea, but that's where I'm at, and I feel like I'll probably try to keep making like yearly updates or something. It would be interesting to see if at the end of vet school I am anywhere near this projection. Like I hope I'm not like way off that projection, but I mean, we'll see. So yeah, anyway, that is my student loan, debt, whatever, story, journey, 9 years of university. Going to be 11 years of university and probably $200,000 of debt. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.